This is Cult Film Face Off.
Hello and welcome to episode 16 of Cult Film Face Off. My name is Chet Roivas. With me as usual is Nick Leonard. As it is Christmas at the moment, and this should be going up just before Christmas, we decided to do two Christmas-themed horror films. We're going to be looking at Black Christmas from 1974 and from 1984, Silent Night, Deadly Night. But we'll do them in chronological order. So we'll start off with Black Christmas from 1974. The Christmas celebrations of a tight-knit group of very different sorority girls are interrupted as they are terrorised by a mysterious assailant. Black Christmas.
Hello? Hello? Look, who is this?
Stop. Oh, God.
What do you want? Why are you doing this?
Let me, Billy. I know you're there, Billy. You answer it, Billy.
Who are you? For God's sake, what are you doing?
I know what you did, Billy. Help me, Billy. Billy! Billy! Billy!
Stop this! Oh, Jesus Christ.
Okay, so Black Christmas. I had never seen it. Had you?
Yes, I have seen it.
Oh, you seen it before? Mm-hmm. How long ago?
I saw it at university, so what we're going back now. I always get this wrong with this podcast. I remember my chronological timeline was really bad. I mean, when I was talking about Freddy vs. Jason, Freddy vs. Jason, when we were talking about Jason and Nid, I was like 11. I was at school when I was like 15.
Yeah, right. Okay.
But I was at uni, so that was what, at least 15 years ago?
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah, so I watched it at uni. I was completely baked, and I didn't have a lot of big recollection about it. I just remembered the prank call stuck in my head.
Why did you watch it? Because somebody recommended it, or why were you watching it?
Somebody had it on DVD.
Oh, right. Okay.
Taffy had it on DVD at uni.
So he liked it then?
Well, he must have done. Yeah, he owned it.
Okay.
So what did you think? First viewing.
There's a lot. I mean, you can tell that this has got a reputation for a very good reason. It did precede most of the slasher genre and did set the precedent for them. Several years, 4 years before Halloween. The first shot, the first POV outside the house shot, which has been taken, been in innumerable slasher films and was essentially spoofed in Blowout, the Brian De Palma film. This seemed to be the first time that that's been done. I don't know whether that's true or not, but everything about the way it's assembled is. The tropes are all there, and they've been stolen from. There's a lot of slow crawling shots of like an open door, and then a POV shot from the other side. It's all very, very basic stuff. It's hard to really get a gist of how influential it was because I've seen it done so many hundreds of times that it's just like, a little bit old hat. Did you like it when you watched it the first time?
This is the thing. It didn't leave its mark on me at all. I didn't, when I fired up again, I was like, what do I remember about it? So I remember Olivia Hussey being in it, because Olivia Hussey, she's all right in it. She's perfectly fine in this, but she's really good. She really sticks out in my mind in one of the Psycho sequels where she plays a young Norma Bates. I think it's Psycho 3. I think it's Psycho 3 with Anthony Perkins, and the flashback sequences are with Olivia Hussey, and she plays a really good Norma Bates.
I was watching this whole film thinking, is she a good actress or is she a kind of bad actress?
She picks up the phone in a really annoying way. Hello! I mean, that kind of sort of zinged through me every time. I mean, she was great in Romeo and Juliet, wasn't she? I mean, that's where she kind of came to prominence.
I remember in It, Stephen King's It, the TV version, where she played Richard Thomas's wife,
right.
And some of her scenes were just... There's one that's already... I can just immediately recognize it. You're crazy. Yeah. I swear, you're crazy. And I was like, is she a terrible actress?
I think the thing is that she very much... she's like a stage actress on screen, so she kind of overemphasises a lot.
I guess that, yeah.
There's a lot worse acting on screen than her in this film.
That's true, yeah.
The father who's lost his daughter... who's a dead ringer for Michael Fish, the weatherman. I mean, he's really dry. He doesn't bring anything to that performance. You don't really believe he's a concerned father.
He didn't
you
seem...
just believe that he just comes across as extremely prissy.
Yeah, he didn't seem particularly disturbed.
He didn't seem disturbed about when they were finding out there were murders. Nothing really affected him. He just came. He kind of had this whole kind of looking down his nose, sort of muttering at everybody the whole time.
And he kind of disappeared for a very long stretch of time, and it seemed to be his story for a stretch of the film. And I thought, where the hell did he go?
Well, it didn't go now. This is the thing about this. There's a huge kind of it kind of sags massively in the middle when there's not kills happening. I mean, this film is at its best when it is laying down the blueprint of the slasher genre as we know and love today. The POV shots. There are some really lovely isolated shots. I was like, fuck, that really is wicked. Like, you see the eyeball, you see the killer's eye in between in the wood, and the bit, I think it's the second or third kill, where he gets the glass kind of unicorn and he goes up and it flashes.
Oh,
you
that's
see
right.
him over the top of her. It's lit in a wicked way. I was like, there is definite class in this film, and the director knows. I mean, it's cut extremely well. There are so many times where it goes from a kill to an immediately really slick cut of, like, you know, choral singing outside or someone. There's a lot of very clever cutting going on in this film.
I like the very sudden jolt when you see someone at the window and then it cuts away before it was revealed that they're these two unthreatening guys on the part of the search party.
What did you think of the prank calls themselves?
Yeah, they were really effective, actually, considering that's something that I've seen in a lot of slasher films where you're supposed to be creeped out by how bizarre the actual sounds down the phone are going. This did put the wind up me a couple of times.
It was genuinely perturbing. I thought it was done very... I mean, it's very hard to do something like that without it coming across as a bit kind of... Well, almost descending into Jerky Boys kind of prank call territory, and they do it really well. With I think I read somewhere that there's 2 or 3 different people doing the voices.
It's the
Bob
director
Clark is one of them.
Yeah, an actress and an Italian actor whose name I wasn't familiar with.
He's done it. It's spliced together very well. I mean, it's, you know, and also you're kind of. I mean, I was getting it that it's kind of alluding to his character and stuff. I mean, that's what I'm getting, is that this is obviously a maniac.
Yeah.
But there's kind of stuff alluding to maybe I've got it that he was kind of talking to a sister or a relative, and someone's done something wrong, and all this kind of stuff. And then there's the whole placing of the doll on the first victim. So he places very carefully a little child's doll.
That's right, yeah.
And whether that alludes to something that's happened, and then he's taking his revenge on sorority. He's taking his revenge on women.
So the thing, this takes place primarily in a sorority house. Why did they have like an innkeeper, or like they called her a sorority mother or something? House mother, they called her. What was that? Is that? I mean, maybe that was something back in the 70s. I've never seen that.
Yeah, I thought that was a bit odd, because you have kind of madames at brothels, don't you? I didn't know about having some old drunk sass.
Yes.
You know? I mean, they really laboured the whole thing about. Okay, I get it. She's on the fucking glug secretly, but it was kind of like
that's another
sequence where she's getting her brandy from the fucking toilet, and then she's got it in a book. B for booze. I'm just all right, okay.
It's another one of those weird situations where I'm just thinking we are living in a different time, because it's clearly supposed to be funny that she's just drunk, and I mean the leaps in tone are completely bizarre. The scene where she's sort of trying to hide her really coarse and crude paintings from the so weird. And there's one they didn't draw attention to it, but in the background there's one picture of a flower that looks like a sphincter, and I was like, this is really, really kind of, I mean, it's almost like, because Bob Clark directed Porky's, and I was like, the humour, and then there's like that photo of the old woman giving the camera the finger, I was like, what? This is really weird. Here's a bit of trivia that I heard. I don't know how true this is, but apparently Margot Kidder met Steve Martin, and Steve Martin said, "Oh, you're in my favourite film."
Yeah, I heard. Yeah, I read this.
And he said, "No."
He's watched it 25 times.
Yeah. That can't be true. He can't. I mean, that can't be true. There's no way that Steve Martin's a fan. I mean, or are we just completely out of touch because it's so old?
Well, I think you've got to give it you've got to kind of give it a leeway to a certain degree. That it is of another time. I thought one of the strongest things about this film is the soundtrack. It's done by a composer called Carl Zitra. And I think what's so impressive about it is that this was done before the days of samplers and synthesizers. And I read that basically a lot of the sounds come from a piano that he basically destroyed, and he's scraping with brushes, forks, and combs to get this kind of like fucked up kind of manipulation of the sound, which was genuinely kind of like chilling at times. Like the end sequence is done so well. When they're panning, the camera goes to each of the rooms where the murders have happened, and it finally goes into the attic where the two... That's daft, obviously, but it really kind of leaves... Because the whole thing is, it's very sort of ambiguous that, well, basically the killer is
still in the house.
Yeah. But, I mean, the fact that they found bodies there's been a huge kind of murder investigation, and they don't go into the hatch...
And they leave a traumatised woman to sleep in the house.
Well,
see you later, we're going,
It's nonsense, but they do it because you get a very kind of powerful last shot of, obviously, the victim, which is a nasty and a well-composed shot, and it basically does a reverse of the beginning opening of the film with the reverse pan and the reverse zoom out of it, and I thought that was a nice classy bit of that was a nice bit of sheen at the end.
I thought the title Black Christmas was quite appropriate because there is a grimness about this film because unlike in most slasher films, which are quite sort of methodical and very, very schematic, this is more... It seems to be more interested in stressed and worrying people. When the first girl goes missing, there's lots of scenes of people worrying and being... And I just thought, normally people are worried and stressed because they're about to get taken out. But these people were waiting to feel grief. And I was like, this is a weird tack for a film to say. The plot kind of stops so that we can just watch these people essentially being scared. But not scared for their lives, scared for their friend, which is an unusual tack for a horror film. And it just kind of gave it a little bit of a... grimness, yeah.
Well, I think there's a bit more emotional heft as well. I mean, this is the thing about the Olivia Hussey thing. I mean, this is another thing I was thinking very much of its time. That must have been quite a kind of... The fact that she was dealing with talking about abortion, and this is a time when that was quite a taboo subject.
Yeah.
So it gives the story... It gives her quite more heft as the final girl.
Yeah.
I thought it was quite interesting that they actually gave her relationship some time... to sort of flesh that out.
Her boyfriend, the least convincing. I mean, he must have been in his late 30s.
Well, he looked like he should be modelling wool.
Yeah, I mean, there's no. I mean, that still hasn't changed in movies. Like, there's a young woman and she's got a guy who's supposed to be younger, but he looked like he was pushing 40, which is a bit weird. One thing that I thought was weird, in stark contrast to that, where I think nothing's changed. It was amazing to watch a film where every character felt so free to be completely aggressive and rude to the police.
Oh, good.
There's just like...
There's a flagrant disrespect for the police. But the police were uniformly
just
useless.
dunces, absolute dunces.
I mean, useless. Yeah. I mean, there's a scene which doesn't have any tension in whatsoever, which is the guy in the telephone exchange. I mean, it was just...
Oh, well, they're trying to trace that call.
There was no kind of tension in that, but that was handled in a different way with quick cuts and but there wasn't. You just thought, well, he's bumbling around trying to intercept this call.
Yeah, that was pretty flat, actually. I mean, I think the film does do a very effective job of making those women feel completely powerless because...
And isolated. I think this is the thing, is that it does convey that there is like this impending sense of doom and discomfort. And they do that very, grimly. And obviously with the Christmas setting...
Yeah,
that's a nice kind of. Yeah,
you get the sense that everyone else has gone home for the holidays and they're on their own.
They're genuinely isolated, and also the fact is that I mean, another example from this kind of from this genre, the slasher film, is Terror Train with Jamie Lee Curtis. When obviously, the killer is on board that train. It's like, well, there, and it adds an element of kind of claustrophobia, and I thought that was conveyed really well. Is that you do genuinely feel like shit? They really are. They really are in fucking trouble.
It's also the fact that the men are they're either totally self-absorbed, like the boyfriend, I want this and I'm going to take this, or they're just callous, like that, or just fucking goofs. The police, when they find out that this young girl's dead, they start having that little joke about the phone number that Margot Kidder has given them, which is a weird scene. Yeah, Felicia. That's a very weird scene, actually. I don't know why she did that, just for a cheap laugh. But, you do get the sense that all of the men are just complete... They're not going to save anybody from anything. They're a bunch of clowns. But, yeah, it is strange, the humour, the sort of weird lapse. It's almost like Last House on the Left, where you forget about it. Whenever I forget about that film, and then I go back and watch it, and I think, the bumbling... Yeah. It's so inappropriate, and the same is true of this.
It's just quite coarse. to have this riffing and this kind of goofiness set against this. I mean, set against this actually like nasty. I mean, the actual Maniac is interesting because you don't really. I think what I quite like. You don't get any kind of backstory about this guy. He is just a fucking maniac.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that they haven't tried to kind of fudge in a kind of he was the dad, the stepdad or something. I kind of just like the fact that the sort of just the flagrant kind of like it's just a fucking nutcase.
The only thing that made me really unhappy about it was the way it was structured. It was Margot Kidder appears to be the lead, and she disappears for I reckon half an hour, maybe longer, and then the grieving dad, he disappears. It just seems a bit slipshod and badly organised, and like you said, it takes a long stretch to go over that sort of phone tapping thing, which I mean. It goes a certain place where I knew it was going to go, where they were going to reveal where the phone call was coming from, and anybody knows the answer to that. Like you, I thought there were some great shots in it. The one that really caught me was the one where there's just shadows sort of moving around in the background, very fleetingly during a conversation. That an exact mirror of that took place in Halloween. I'm not the massive. I really am not the biggest fan of the slasher genre anyway. But watching this, you can clearly see the precedent that it's set.
Yeah, I mean, it does. It clearly maps out a blueprint that has been copied.
I mean, it has to be cited in any conversation about the legacy of Halloween.
Did you see the remake?
No, this is. I was going to mention this. This is both of these films have been remade.
Yeah.
I didn't see either of them. Apparently, the Silent Night, Deadly Night remake is meant to be very good.
Right.
The Black Christmas remake is supposed to be absolutely terrible.
That's right.
You haven't seen either?
No.
No. Okay. I mean, this is a bizarre film. It has bizarre idiosyncrasies to it, like the lapses into sort of coarse humour, but it's definitely in the upper echelons of the slasher genre. I think it quite comfortably, and it's legitimately.
I mean, sorry, go on.
I was just going to say it's a legitimately interesting museum piece.
Yeah, as I said, what I was really impressed with is there's some really good cutting, some really nice isolation. Every time they had the killer's POV, when he's genuinely losing his shit up in the, it's actually quite uncomfortable to watch, and it's quite rare to get segments in films, to be honest, that you do actually find them a bit uncomfortable to watch. And I really like the fact that it was making me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And those phone calls were done really well.
They were the highlight, I think. And the amount of films that have tried to do
it's been
unsettling,
tried to be emulated, and it's never.
Apparently, the main actor who was performing in them, this Italian actor, the whole time he was standing on his head to try and make it sound a little bit weirder. I don't know whether that contributed to it, but it can't have hurt, I guess. Yeah, I mean, it's a strong example of a genre in which 98% of it is irredeemable trash, I think. Yeah. Like I said, I'm not a slasher film fan, but...
I mean, this is held in... I mean, this is kind of the pearl of the slasher. To genre fans... This is held in extremely high regard.
It is.
And people are very forgiving. These fans are forgiving the fact that, there's a lot of pretty bad characterisation. There's a big sag in the middle of the film.
Yeah.
There's insequential characters that kind of... They turn up and they disappear and they turn up at the end.
That's the problem.
I mean, I thought it was a bit pointless that the father who's lost his daughter, he has some kind of like seizure at the end, which is just
I thought, I mean, he went from not grieving to just being the most grief-stricken person who ever lived. I mean, actually, maybe we're being
some funny turn when they.
I thought that's when he found out that his daughter. Oh no, because he didn't really find that out. They never found the body, did they? Fuck.
She's up in the open attic, which hasn't even got a hatched door that they didn't bother going up to.
Yeah, that's a bit weak, fucking weak. I mean, it is top notch among the competition. Aside from the real gold standards like Halloween. I mean, for film historians and genre completists, it's essential. But I mean, as somebody who wasn't a fan of. Who isn't a fan of slasher films, it does have interesting elements to it, but when it descends into characters creeping around in the dark and you're just kind of sat there waiting for a jump scare, I found that difficult to separate from the crap that it inspired. But you can tell that it's an important film in sort of that. The pantheon of slasher films.
Yeah, and once again, the soundtrack. I mean, testament to the soundtrack, being very effective. Death Waltz Records, who do great work. Check them out if you've not heard of them before.
Death Waltz
Records, right. And they did. They worked with a composer and got the original recordings and HD'd it. Also, it sounds great, and it did some really nice. Cover artwork on it as well, which is actually on our Facebook page at the moment.
Oh, thanks.
But yeah, definitely check out. The soundtrack is one of the best things about it.
Okay. All right, cool. Just another sort of tiny bit of trivia. this film's also known as Silent Night, Evil Night, bizarrely enough, and then it was also called Stranger in the House when it was planned to be broadcast on TV before being pulled because people thought it would be too scary, and that was also in the aftermath of one of Ted Bundy's murders, so they didn't show it. Yeah, grim stuff. Anyway, let's move on. Let's move on to the second film, which is Silent Night, Deadly Night from 1984. Years after witnessing the brutal murder of his parents on Christmas Eve night, a traumatised and tormented teenager goes on a Yuletide rampage across his sleepy hometown. Silent Night, Deadly Night.
'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. You've made it through Halloween. Now try and survive Christmas. Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Okay, so Silent Night, Deadly Night. I'd heard about it throughout my childhood as it was unavailable in England. Never saw it before. This is my first time. Had you seen it before?
Yes, I've seen it before.
Again, same period, university.
No, a few years afterwards.
Okay.
I remember, it was probably a couple of years after I'd seen Black Christmas, but I remembered far more about Silent Night, Deadly Night than I did about Black Christmas.
Right. So what did you... I mean, did you like it when you saw it originally?
Did I like it? No, I didn't like it. I just had it was far more memorable because it's far more crass. It's far more over the top, and you know you can't really get images out of your head of Santa brandishing an axe and impaling Linnea Quigley on some antlers. I mean, there's all these kind of things that were. I mean. The thing that stuck in my head the most, which is still done really nastily, and is still really grubby, is the killing of the two parents by
yeah, that's really it's unbelievably nasty.
It really is.
Yeah.
I mean this film is kind of it paints a clear picture from the opening title sequence. It's crass. It's got an abrasive opening score. The soundtrack has not aged well at all.
Yeah, it's kind of discordant. Again, it's very, I'm going to invoke bad taste again, but that kind of... or am I thinking of... I think I might be thinking of the Black Christmas score. Sorry. There was one piece that was used in either one of these films where it's kind of discordant electronic noises.
Well, it's not electronic noises in Black Christmas.
So it was this?
Really just jarring.
Okay, it was this, right, okay.
Yeah. The thing that struck me the most, it's the thing that I enjoyed the most the first time I watched it. I enjoyed it most this time I watched it. Is the grandpa. Grandpa in the old people's home is the best thing in Silent Night, Deadly Night.
I thought this film had a killer opening, an absolutely killer opening. I mean, that scene where the family goes to visit the grandfather, and as soon as it's just the grandfather's alone with the child, this borderline comatose old man suddenly turns on his young relative and starts terrifying him. I thought it was totally unexpected.
No,
I was like, wow.
It's done so well.
So effective. But this is also important. That scene is also, as well as being unsettling, it's fucking hilarious. The more I thought about it, I just thought that I bet you that would be a hilarious scene to watch with a crowd of people.
Yeah,
because
you don't expect it coming.
Yeah, I mean, it's so dark as to be quite amusing because it is terrifying. If you were that kid, you'd be. Never mind seeing your parents get massacred. That alone would traumatise you to such an extraordinary degree. So I thought that was an important part of it being funny. I actually thought that this was really, really quite good. I don't know. I'll say I was completely 100% engaged in it, and I didn't expect to be. I thought I was going to be sort of sitting back and kind of taking the piss out of it a little bit, because the strokes of the story are so broad and kind of forceful that it's almost like a fairy tale. I mean, there's the death of the parents. There's this merciless and wicked old nun who beats the child. I mean, completely sadistic, and sadistic about his hang-up about. You know, it's completely legitimate, this hang-up he has about Father Christmas. And the fact that they are just like, sit him on Santa's lap and he'll behave, and it's just like, it's so sadistic.
I love the sucker punch.
He knocks Santa Claus
with a sweet overhand left.
Yeah.
I just wish there was more. I mean, it is, you know, through and through, this is an exploitation film, you know?
No doubt.
It's tacky lo-fi, grubby as hell. The bits of comedy, though, I mean, it's peppered with moments. I mean, I would have liked far more moments that were that were funny. I mean, you've got the guy, you've got like the low rent Joe Pesci who works.
Oh, that guy, right? Yeah, okay.
In an Irish toy shop.
Yeah.
You moon goon.
Yeah, I heard
Never
that.
heard anybody called a moon goon before.
First and
really,
last time, yeah.
Really underused. And what I love is that he's obviously a guy that's got crippling little man syndrome. And I love the fact that when he gets killed by Billy, who's obviously this strapping 6-foot+ guy, he's lifted into the air, and it clearly shows he's sporting some of the most epic pair of Cuban heels.
Oh, wait a minute, of course, yeah, no, I remember that now. That's it. It seemed like actually they made a very sort of deliberate point of showing
Well,
that.
that's it, yeah, which I really liked.
Yeah.
I mean, this film kind of offers up, it's kind of like a slasher fanboy's kind of dream in terms of like there is loads of on-screen gore, not great on-screen.
No, I mean I was going to say
it's been done a lot better, and there's loads of TNA which slasher film fans absolutely love. And it's got a high body count. You got 13 kills.
If this was a slasher film's like fantasy or whatever, I think the kills would be a lot better. I mean, one kill is a guy getting thrown out of a window.
But in terms of how explicit it is, there's a lot of slashing, there's a lot of bloodletting. It's not, the thing is, it's done very low budget, very low fi. You've not got somebody on board like a Tom Savini to bring the gore up to levels of you know.
Yeah, I mean,
real inventiveness.
Yeah, but I mean, I did like the beheading on the sled. I mean, that was.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's very simplistic. So in comparison to a guy getting thrown out of the window, the problem I had with the nudity was that it was expressly relegated to the rape scenes, which was supposed to be titillating. It's one of those situations where you're just kind of like, I don't.
Have scenes, there were scenes of TNA which were people just making out. I mean, Linnea Quigley and also when they're in the nuns, where he was spying on those guys making out.
Oh, I suppose so. I completely forgot about that bit. A completely weird, another thing that's just supposed to make him go that little bit crazier.
Yeah, I mean, he's such a wooden actor. The guy that plays the older version of him is so terrible.
Yeah, the acting was generally quite ripe. I thought some of the nuns were quite effective, but
well, the goody
two shoes. I thought that the essentially evil one was pretty good as well.
I mean, there was a lot of very hammy acting. I mean, the guy that owns the he's definitely been in other stuff. The guy that I should have had a look actually. My bad. Should have seen what else he's been in. I've definitely seen him in lots of other things. The guy who runs the toy shop, who does the hammiest rendition of somebody having too many Christmas sherries.
I've never seen him before in my life. So I actually looked at his performance. I thought he wasn't bad. I just thought he's the kind of guy that I assumed knew somebody on the production or something, because he didn't strike me as the kind of person I'd ever seen.
Definitely come up with something else. I'll have to have a look and reference it later on. Did you hear about? I mean, this caused huge uproar when it was released. I mean, Americans. What filled me what made me smile about this is just thinking about all these American apple baked mamas. I don't know what we call it. Apple bake. Apple
pie.
Apple baked mamas.
I have never heard that phrase before. I mean, if you're trying to invoke apple pie something is apple pie mamas. I mean, American picket fence mamas. I don't know. I know what you're saying. Like middle American.
I love the fact of them kind of with their placards trying to get this taken off, because it really does kind of lampoon at every kind of turn Christmas, and the shots of like the toys going side to side with their head once the kill's done in the toy shop. It focuses on the repetitive toy action going back and forward. This spawned 5 sequels.
Yeah.
The latest one featuring Mickey Rooney as a mad toy maker.
No way.
Which made me want to
kind of see it. Yeah.
It outgrossed A Nightmare on Elm Street
for a week. Yeah, before they pulled it. Yeah. That's.
It's quite something.
Well, I haven't seen a lot of the marketing materials from this one, but it seems like it was very, very cleverly marketed. To cause uproar more than anything else. It's a very, very. I mean, the acting's ripe, but it's directed like 80s television. Aesthetically, I kept looking at it and thinking of things like Murder, She Wrote, It's all
diagnosis murder.
Yeah, I mean, it's also thoroughly functional. There's no distinctive flourishes in the camera work, all the editing.
But that's a complete flip on Black Christmas, because that really, for me, that kind of really elevated the skill that was going on.
Oh, it was. Yeah, I mean, I think that's inarguable. That's a better made film. This is a very. I mean, did you hear that the director was so squeamish about the violence that he had to get the editor to come and direct the violence? Yeah. I mean, the director is now.
He's dead.
Yeah, sorry, I think he might have passed away. Yeah, but he basically produced. This is what he primarily did. He basically produced religious films.
So odd.
Yeah, I mean, I remember one of them was called The Case of Christ's Resurrection. One of them was called The Evidence of Heaven. One was called 12 Ordinary Men.
Well, you're doing these straight to DVD educational religious pieces.
Yeah.
Which is so odd that he cut.
I don't know how he ever got this job. I mean, the fact that he couldn't bring himself to direct any scene.
Just look back on your showreel. You're just the man for the Old Testament.
But it is a weird. I mean, it does say something. I mean, at least he was committed to who he was. I mean,
he was committed to who he was.
He was. You know what I mean?
What does that mean?
If they were looking for consistency, if they went back and they'd say, "Oh, well, I don't know."
But how did he get the gig? From he did this.
And then he started
doing.
I think that's what he wanted to be doing. Whether he took this for the money or whether he took it for some.
He had a kind of a sudden pang of conscience that he's like, oh my god, I actually feel really bad. I've done something.
I should never.
Like, I've got to go and
maybe he
found
did.
God.
Maybe in his neighbourhood, like in his religious community, the church was like. The filth that made this film when he was just shrinking in the back going, oh God, I've offended the Lord. I don't know, we could speculate about
Hail Marys and 50 titles that relate to straight to DVD religion.
Like I said, I think the first 40 minutes or so was pretty gripping. It's so simplistic and so blunt that I just couldn't help but sort of be wrapped up in it.
Probably, if you look at it, it's probably the first 20 minutes.
No, I reckon it's half of the film. I mean, the plot twists... There are plot twists in it that are totally expected. I mean, you knew at some point he was going to have to dress up as Santa Claus. I mean, you knew that was going to happen. I mean, any fool could have guessed that. But because I was so wrapped up in the story, I didn't see it coming, and I was like, oh,
oh right, yeah, okay.
So I was properly with it. I have to be honest. I was really just completely captivated because it is like a fairy tale. The brutal. And I think it goes out of its way to be sort of vaguely empathetic towards... At first I thought, where is this going to go? Because it seems to be trying to justify what he's going to do later.
It kind of reminded me of a feature-length episode of Tales from the Crypt.
I can see that, yeah.
Just a wee bit of trivia. When it was released, it certainly majorly ruffled the feathers of Siskel and Ebert, who read the credits out loud on their show for the movie, saying shame after each name came up on the credits.
I don't think they did it. I think they named like a couple of the producers. I'm sure I've seen that clip. If it's on YouTube, I'll put it at the end of this podcast. Yeah. But yeah, they were really, really aggravated, and I can kind of see why. I mean, when the film just turned into a bog standard slasher, because the film is like for 40 minutes. Look at how damaged this guy is. Look at how he's going, and then it's just like, do you want to see him kill people for about an hour, half an hour, 40 minutes?
Well, it does the absolute opposite of what Black Christmas does, which gives you no backstory or anything about the main killer. This is all about backstory and justification of his actions for the first half of the film, which they seldom ever do in slasher films. They never give them so much backstory.
But then they abandon everything, and then it's just to face this guy walking around, and the mistaken identity, and they're like, oh shit, there's a guy in a Santa suit, we might as well shoot him in the back.
Yeah, I mean, there's some pretty brutal violence. I mean, there's, when the first Santa, who goes on to kill his parents, holds up that liquor store, I mean, he just shoots him in the air, and then there's a headshot.
Yeah, it just shoots him when he's down, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It is gratuitous. I mean, and that bothered me. Ironically, it bothered me less during the first half, where it's really brutal, just because I was actually with the story. But the gratuitous nudity, the stupidity of some of the fucking things that happened, the latter half of the film, it
unravelled completely after the first.
It became the worst. I mean, good slasher films need to be either inventive or sadistic or funny or all of the above, and this is none of those things. It's just kind of.
There are better examples of the slasher genre to go to than Silent Night, Deadly Night. Silent Night, Deadly Night is a curio, majorly because of the whole Father Christmas, the whole festive thing. Yeah. That's why it's got so much gravitas, I think. I mean, if you really want to go and find out, I mean, for me personally, The Prowler is such a good example.
What's
of the slasher
The
genre.
Prowler? Which one's that? Is that Christmas as well?
No, it's a slasher film.
Why did you bring it up?
because in terms of slasher films as a genre, that's my go-to. The Prowler, Terror Train, and then you've got the higher echelon.
Halloween,
Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You could label as a slasher film.
Yeah.
But the Prowler is a really good, well done, great kills. Tom Savini's on SFX duty. Really good main. The killer is really good. Really, he's kind of like a soldier. Yeah.
I have a feeling like I've seen it, but I can't.
It was banned for ages, and then I think it got released uncut about 10. I have to check. About 10, 15 years ago. That's done really well. It's got a great twist at the end as well.
Yeah, like I said before, I was kind of. I read about it. I used to read a lot of sort of horror. I used to read a lot about horror films when I was a kid, and I remember reading about this years ago, and you could never get it because it was banned until 2009. Did you know that? I don't even think they bothered submitting it to the BBFC over here initially.
Right. Have you seen? Or I'm assuming you've seen none of the sequels then.
No, but I've seen Garbage Day, and apparently
that's worth a punt.
Well, apparently that the majority of that film is just old footage from the first film. So I mean, I think that could be very, very funny if you've seen the first one. In a kind of, you said that there were some laughs in this. Did you think there was funny bits in this in Silent Night, Deadly Night? I didn't think there was any comedy in it whatsoever.
Oh no, well, laughs is in. I
was laughing at some of the acting, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, some of the acting was crushingly wooden, and I wish, as I said earlier, I wish there was more laughs to be had here. There's a couple of, the Grandad scene had me cracking up. Yeah. There was, it made me laugh when he decked Santa. Yeah. That made me laugh.
Oh right, okay. I thought you meant intentional, like.
Oh no, I don't think they were playing any of it for laughs.
Yeah.
It's just the hamminess of the whole production.
Yeah, true.
Well, they're Joe Pesci. So they're the three laughs.
Like I said, I was completely. It was like watching the unfolding of a fairy tale, and then after that, it became the most boring, the most uninventive, the most tedious slasher film of all time. So it was kind of a letdown. I wish it had the courage of its convictions. Oh, and if you really have a problem with things like gratuitous nudity, I think this is really sleazy in that department.
This is why Slasher Fanboys it's in the upper echelon.
What, this one?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, they absolutely love it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go online. This film has got a huge amount of love.
That's why I don't really like slasher films. I think that my sensibilities are too out of whack. But
Mary Whitehouse.
If you had to pick which one of these is the
Black
better,
Christmas.
For the first 40 minutes, I was like, Silent Night, Deadly Night, as trashy and fucking guttural as it is, it pisses on Black Christmas, but. The second half completely undoes it, and you have to respect what Black Christmas did.
Yeah, it set out a blueprint of slashers to come. So that's where Silent Night, Deadly Night. It was an interesting first quarter when he grew up. It descended into by the books TNA, really uninventive kills. Plenty of kills. There's 13 of them, but it's kind of like slashes. There's no inventive. There's the antler.
Yeah, I mean, even that's fucking. Like I said, it's one of those films where I really wanted to just kind of dismiss it outright. But the first 40 minutes, I thought this is actually quite strong. But Black Christmas is a better film, I think.
It is a better film, and I would definitely urge anybody listening to this to go and if you're into slasher films and you want to go and find some absolute gems of the genre. Search out The Prowler and check out Terror Train with Jamie Lee Curtis because they're definitely worth your time.
Terror Train?
What did I say?
Terror Train. Terror Train. Okay. Well, thank you very much for listening. Black Christmas is the winner, and that's us done. We will be back in 2017 with a new episode 2 weeks from now. But thank you very much for listening. I hope you have a decent Christmas.
Yeah, and have a great Christmas and a spanking New Year, and look forward to checking in the New Year.
Yeah, see you soon. Take it easy. Goodbye.
Ho, ho, ho!